let's call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. on June 9th.
I'm just trying to get onto the
Sure.
internet, sorry.
We'll start up very slowly.
Do you want me to drop a door or have you?
Sure, yeah.
This one? Yeah. I'll just do the front one like we usually do, because I'm facing that to see it.
Okay.
As we're getting organized, I would like to welcome Kim,
Thanks.
who was elected a few weeks ago. It's great to have you as part of the library trustees.
Thanks. Oh, there it is. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Good. So, given our numbers, I think we can actually vote on the May minutes.
They were deep and long.
Yes. Yeah. And here you go, you can take a look.
I didn't send them till late today, so if people feel uncomfortable voting on them.
And we can
I
also
get it.
table it too.
Yeah,
So why don't we do that actually until Julie and Audrey are with us when it comes to minutes.
Okay. All right.
Opportunity for public comment. There's no one from the public here. People are always welcome to come in and share. And we will move right on to the director's report.
All right. So I don't have a very big report this month. It's been busy it's been busy here and it's been busy for me personally because I've been traveling a lot, dealing with family issues. But there are some things I'd like to share. Some of these are we have a couple procedural things. First off, we are going to need, we're going to update the staff and trustee list. Nothing has changed as far as staff goes, as far as contact information. But what I'd like to do is just pass this around to the folks that are here, confirm that the contact information, phone number, email is still good. Kim, you can just write on this sheet. It's just a draft. You can give me your contact information, and we'll get that updated. And then along those lines, because Lynn has stepped down as trustee, she was also the emergency contact. So if ever after hours the public safety needed to be in touch with a trustee because something was up at the library, she was that person. And so I want to throw it out there that we are going to need somebody to fill that role. Anyone that's willing to do it, that feels that they're generally available and willing to be, disturbed at odd hours.
either of us.
You guys can
We'll duke it out.
duke it out. I don't know how, on what basis.
Well,
you
Jack
do it.
works from home, so he might be a better pick, although I don't know if you can leave in the middle of the day, but.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can. So I'm happy to do that. Now, who's going to contact the folks in public safety that I'm the new contact?
I'm going to do that. I'll update them and take that information from the contact sheet and just pass that on to them, and then they will have it.
So-
I think Lynn mentioned that there was only one occasion where she was ever contacted by public safety because of something, and it was because of there was an issue with the front door. Nothing. It's always an issue with the front door.
It's a long story.
Yeah. So the other issue that's kind of a procedural thing is that when Lynn was chair, Lynn, as you may or may not know, Lynn also volunteers in the library on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So when it came time for me to put together my bills for the week to get authorization, I need one signature from a trustee to authorize them and then send them off to the accountant for processing. And so we can do, so because she was here in person, I always just put the paper in front of her and she just signed it. But this is what the bills look like. It's just essentially a spreadsheet compiling everything that we have to be paid and then the bill itself. And whoever is authorizing this, I mean, all of you can, if you have the time of the day to stop by, everyone can sign it. But we need, to proceed, we need one authorized signer. And so you can always feel free to stop in, look at these. They will be digitized and you can always look at them in that form too. But
What's the frequency again? Is it
it's
once a week?
it's every other week.
Every other week.
Yeah, and it coincides now with the payroll, but payroll does not need a signature anymore for my payroll. So
All of those pages or just the front page?
you just have to sign the front page. So we can do one of two things. anyone finds it convenient to come over on a set schedule every other week to do this, we can find a time, and then I will make sure that they are completed for someone to arrive and sign it in person. Or we can do what we did this week and move back to doing this electronically, and someone just signs the PDF. And I don't care which way we do it, because I have to scan them either way.
And Jack and I filled both of those spots.
You did.
We had it covered.
So if you,
Yeah.
if you like that, that's kind of how we got through the COVID era, and it was actually kind of a lifesaver to do it that way, and I'm happy to do it that way. But when I had, Lynn just literally in the building, I just had her do it that way. So I'm up for whatever, but
So Joanne, can you just talk me through, how did you actually sign it? Did you use Cami, or what was the app to sign?
Oh, you just open it as a PDF and you put the thing that says signature, and I just put signature in, and then I resaved it and sent it back.
in Adobe, there's a
So
little
just that easy?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all you have to do. But when you do that, you have the full bill set, so if you wanted to look at anything in the bill set, you can do that at the time that you're signing, so you know what you're signing.
Is the best day Thursday or Friday?
The town accountant wants them on Thursday to then begin processing them by Friday. So I have them done by Thursday, but if we want to set some other day, I can do it whenever. But if we're doing it electronically, it seems like it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter necessarily.
I don't mind doing it electronically, unless you want to do it.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna be sending those to you from here on out. That's great, thank you. And that actually is a weight off of my mind. So these are old bills. I don't have bills yet completed because we just did them last week, but I wanted to show what they look like. Okay, so, and Kim, just for your benefit, I think I did send you the director's report and the financial, the spreadsheet that shows the budget.
Oh, okay.
So these are things that I typically send out every month. This is just a short kind of synopsis of what's going on that month, some statistics at the top, and then where we are in terms of our yearly spending.
Can you dwell on the top stats a little bit more, just to kind of
Yeah.
help explain?
Yeah, so these without context, where you sort of see, I'm trying to give a little bit of context here in that. So for example, here on the number for items that we've circulated, that people have borrowed, that for the month of May was 5,533, and you can see relative to the same month a year ago, we were down 4%. That being said, that's not necessarily disappointing to us, because 5,533 items is a massive amount of stuff for us historically. And so we've been kind of crushing records month over month, particularly in the past year, since I don't know if you've heard about this, but the Jones is undergoing renovation in Jones and Amherst.
Oh, I did hear about that, yeah.
So we've had an influx of people coming in to use the library. And it's somewhat abated, but our numbers are still higher than they ever have been.
Wow.
And so there's that context. But every year I compile these kinds of, this kind of data for the Board of Library Commissioners, and I send it off in an annual report to them. And then you can really kind of see, how we're doing over the course of a year, rather than just what happened that month. And you can look at that data from year to year and see how it's changed. Generally for us, it's all been like kind of an upward trajectory, where we just get busier and busier, and consequently we get kind of more and more taxed as a staff, because there's just more people coming in and more stuff going on all the time, but our staffing level doesn't really grow.
Yeah.
So we're usually kind of just running. So, and then another thing that I always highlight here, just to kind of give you a sense, and I don't have a comparison for it, but where you see the average of 133 patrons per day, average 22 patrons per hour. Again, those numbers are higher than they've ever been. And, for context, when we were in the old Goodwin Library, on a typical month, like on a typical May, we probably would have been at 12 patrons per hour coming in.
Wow.
And so a lot of these things have doubled, or more than doubled, since the old days.
How are you collecting these numbers? Are you clicking as people come in?
I don't have one here, but we have a tally sheet. We've tried to do this both electronically and on paper, and so far we've not come up with a good method for counting the numbers dependably electronically. So essentially what it is someone at the front desk who sees everyone that comes in, although they are often distracted by helping the person in front of them or walking away to help somebody elsewhere. We just do a tally for everybody that comes through. We have adults, we have young adults, and we have children. And we just keep track of it that way. We keep track of the number of people that use a public computer every day. We track the number of people that call in on the phone. And we just sort of track that to again, give a relative sense of how busy we are month to month, year to year. And we then, we use that information to put together our, every year we use that to put together our budget presentation that we take to the finance committee and the select board to make a justification for why we're asking for what we're asking for. So that's what that is. So a couple of other things on I report on this month to month, so you'll see down here CFWM, that's Community Foundation of Western Massachusetts, where we have there are two accounts there for the library. One of them is you'll see the Hadley Library Fund, and that is a fund that we set up for our capital campaign. When we were building the new library, we set up that as a way to collect funds for people to contribute to the library. Now, so the money that's sitting there is still waiting to be used in some way, but as you'll learn going through this, we have some ongoing projects or issues or things like that, so we have held back on spending that money until we figure out some of the solutions, and that's going to be a part of the solution, I think. And then the Charlotte Smith Memorial Fund is that was a bequest from a woman named Charlotte Smith who lived in town, who was a library patron that we knew and served for years, lovely woman, and she passed away, and lo and behold, we found out that she had left a sizable amount of money, which has grown since then. But that's what those two funds
dedicated
are.
fund, the Smith Memorial Fund.
That is just her request. We don't add to it or contribute to it in any other way. It just.
Are you restricted in the ways you can use it?
No.
We are not.
Okay.
And this group will manage it financially.
I see, okay.
Yeah, so they give us quarterly reports. They track who has made a donation. If people make a donation directly to the community foundation, which they can, they will send out an acknowledgement letter, and they'll let us know that a gift has been made, so that we can reach out, to thank them as well. And so they just do a lot of the work that is challenging for a small staff. People make gifts directly to the library as well, which I acknowledge directly when we receive them.
So-
But those go into a town account, and then we're able to draw on those to buy additional books or whatever our needs are.
I just want to clarify that the Charlotte Smith money is at the community foundation because that was in her will,
Yes.
that it had to be there.
Yeah,
Yes.
So that's why it's at the community foundation.
okay.
Our other money is at the community foundation because when we went to the town and we were looking for ways, and the reason I'm going over this right now is it's important to my report from the endowment group. The reason the community foundation handles that money is because some libraries are set up as 501c3s or nonprofits. We are not set up that way, so the community foundation is a nonprofit, and when you invest with them, they take that, I don't know the right word for it, like shell
Like under
cover
that
for you, they
umbrella,
put you under
yeah.
that umbrella.
Oh,
We also have some money that is with the town directly, but this is a way for us to be able to kind of invest our money on our own. It's not really on our own because the community
Yeah.
foundation does it, but in the sense of a 501c3.
oh,
What
And
is-
I'm bringing that up now because it will come into play when I report.
What is the money that we use directly, that the library uses directly? What is that fund called?
For
From the town?
operations.
Well, you were talking about some things we work through the town.
Oh, so we have some money that some people have donated and they just give it straight to the town. So there is some money in town accounts when, say, I don't know, Tom Jones, I'm making up a name, dies, and people just decide to make checks to the library and
Yeah.
send it to the town.
So we have an account that's like that we call the gift fund, which when people make a small gift, I mean, oftentimes, you know, if there's a death announcement in the newspaper, it'll say, you know, make a contribution to the library and we'll receive, you know, a flurry of small donations, $100 and $50, and that goes directly into this gift fund.
And this is all relevant to the
Yes.
conversation we'll have about
Yes.
the endowment, so it's important back
Yes.
information.
There's also, and again, not to get too deep into the weeds, but just one more thing is that some of the funds that are held by the town hall are what I would call legacy trust funds, in that they were gifts that were made closer to the founding of the Goodwin Library, you know, 120 years ago. So they're funds that have been there for a long time, and they predate any of us being involved in the library. And so they're over there. They're still available. Each one of them has their own stipulations about how the money can be used or can't be used, how much money needs to be retained in the account as a minimum. So there's historical information related to each of those accounts, but there's only about half a dozen.
And as part of the endowment committee, that is something we're gonna be working on, kind of listing those out, tracking them so the trustees can see them. And I'll talk about that when we get to endowment committee.
So the library, some form of the library controls how those funds are spent?
Yeah,
Okay,
we as trustees do.
okay.
So Joanne, you have the biggest sense of history here, been a trustee for a while. What would you say is our role as trustees? Like, why not every town agency has a group of trustees that works with it? The library does.
Right, so, departments run differently. I like to tell people that the library is kind of like the school, right? You know how the school has a school committee, they're in charge of their building, they're in charge of their staff, they're kind of independent, right? If you look at something like the senior center, right? Their director is hired by the town, everything goes through the town. Well, the library, through the Mass Board of Library Commissioners and the state, runs like a school. So we hire and hopefully not fire our director. We review our director, we decide his raises, we care for our building, we decide how to care for our building.
We
And
set
that's one of the
goals and objectives.
reasons
Yeah.
why the Goodwin, I'm gonna take credit here a little bit for the trustees, the Goodwin stayed in good shape because it had a group of people that were in charge of making sure the roof got checked all the time, the windows, like other buildings in town don't have a 6-person
Yeah.
trustee group that's in charge of them. So we actually kind of run the library and work directly with the state. And I would tell you that one of the best things you can do, and we can get you information, is look up the Mass Board of Library Commissioners.
Okay.
And there's also a trustee group, and they will always tell you what being a trustee is about, because it's similar, if not exactly, throughout the state.
And there's a really helpful resource that I can get the link for you, that is, I don't remember if it's called the trustee handbook, but it's the Board of Library Commissioners. They have a pamphlet or whatever that kind of gives you a sense of what are the roles of the different players. Like what are the roles of the trustees relative to the roles of the staff? What are the roles of the Friends of the Library relative to the trustees? Because these can be kind of confusing, like, well, who's in what lane, who's doing what, and so that's a really good resource, because it doesn't, while it can vary, there's a lot of variation from town to town and library to library. Generally speaking, these roles are like pretty codified and known.
Okay.
But sometimes local customs and local traditions make them slightly different from each other, but generally speaking, they
Can you
correspond.
find that? Send it to all of us?
Yeah, I'll send that link to everybody.
This may be a question for later, but
Yeah.
do we have control of our funds? the
At
town
Community
does not.
At Community Foundation, or all of them?
The funds that the library has to operate on, coming from these various funds.
Generally, this is stipulated if it's a trust fund that's, whether it's here at the town or whether it's with the Community Foundation, it's going to say this is for the use of the library.
But Patrick, I'm gonna give you a little pushback. We actually do have control over our funds because we sign our own bills. We kind of say, okay, we're paying for this.
Okay.
Patrick decides what we're gonna spend each budget line, like, we get our budget approved by the town.
Yeah.
But once it's approved by the town.
I wasn't sure if you meant like the trust funds though, or if you mean like the.
Or
We
if
have
you
four
mean the
different
town
funds.
budgets.
We have 4 different funds here that I'm learning about, and who controls all those funds.
So the operating budget is a budget that we're part of the town's overall operating budget for the year. Those are, we don't set these budgets, we go and we request a certain amount and then the
Right.
town approves it. So town meeting essentially authorized this, but then we as a department go and use the money for operational purposes. Those other funds that we're talking about, whether at Community Foundation or whether they're gift or trust funds at Town Hall, this is generally something, if I were to use money from a trust fund, I would come to a trustees meeting and say, I think we should use some money from this fund for this purpose, and then the trustees would discuss it.
Okay.
I think that one of the big rules, you'll see when I do my report, the first job of the folks working on the endowment or development is gonna be to present all of that information to this group.
Okay.
Because this group, I think, has turned over enough and is new enough that it's important that we review that first, and that's gonna be
Good.
one of the first tasks.
Good.
So I hope to have a presentation for all of you of our money, where it is, how we
Yeah.
use it. That seems like a first line job.
Jack, is the next item Joanne's?
Oh,
After
yeah.
director's report is Joanne's report. Have
Yeah.
any questions come up that you want addressed?
Um,
Because I'll tell you, my first meeting here, and I was appointed to fill a vacant position, it felt like I was taking a world language course and learning MBLC and all of this. It was a
Yeah. Oh, I
lot.
have to remember some of this stuff, certainly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
take it one step at a time.
yeah.
And just remember that, like, it doesn't really matter if you've been here for 1 day or for 3 years, or if you're just a member of the public. I will answer the question, or I'll do my best to try to answer the question. So even if you just like, kind of like are, in the middle of the night, you're like, wait, I don't understand this. Early the next morning, you can just call me or walk in and say, what did that mean? I'm confused, what's going on here? And we'll do our best to find the answer. So really, my role is to, I believe, for everyone involved, to the best of my ability, for my own benefit, is to demystify what we're doing here.
So do you have an office here? Is this a full-time job for you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know. I mean, I
Yes.
know ours aren't full-time, but,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so I'm here Monday through Friday generally, and sometimes
okay.
other days, but yes, just feel free, because again, I would rather clarify
Yeah.
than have anything left to the imagination or
okay.
have it
And
be
you've been
mysterious.
in the role of director for about how many years now?
About 11 years.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. Well,
So-
I think your job's probably pretty safe then.
Well, I don't know, these are tough times. I just want to do 2 things, then I want to move on to Joanne's, because so much what we're talking about just goes into that conversation, so I just want to move on to that, but I do want to highlight 2 other things before we go, and for the benefit of anyone listening at home that might be interested in these things. But one thing I wanted to mention, actually 3 things. We have summer reading about to start. This is a very exciting time of year, and we have a ton of programming going from basically from the end of the school year through August. We've got a lot of great stuff happening, and including this Saturday, June 13th, starting at 10 a.m. when we open. That's going to be the kickoff for summer reading.
Oh,
We're hoping for good weather, and we're going to have, first thing in the morning, we're going to have a visit from tractors. Are you bringing both tractors?
I'm bringing both
You're bringing,
tractors.
Jack is bringing both tractors for kids to come and check out up close and probably sit on the seat. I don't even know what.
Yeah, hopefully not touch a lot of the buttons.
I don't know what liability allows for here, but
Yes.
whatever is permitted, you're going to get to check out the tractors. We will also have a visit from Boomer, the mascot for the Springfield Thunderbirds?
Yes.
Yes.
We
okay.
recently had them at our school.
Yes, and Boomer has been here before, but he's gonna be a sort of a celebrity visitor.
Is Boomer dressed like a bird?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so.
No, I just, so
Yes,
I'll
we had
recognize
him come
them.
to our school.
Yeah, I'm not
Yes.
a hockey guy, but I believe I have this right. I believe he's a bird. Yeah, oh yeah, actually pass these around. It should be enough for everybody. And then I wanted to mention that also on Saturday, we have Trevor the Games Man coming. This says at 1 o'clock, and I think that is correct.
Yes. Okay, so I will bring the tractors, and I've already been in touch with Emily and Julia about that.
Yep.
And are you also going to mention about the garden
Yes,
landscape?
yeah,
day?
so I got two more things to quickly mention, and that is, we have a great program coming up that, I'm not gonna be able to make it to this, but this actually sounds really, really interesting. This is presented by the Hadley Historical Society, who often does programs here at the library. And it's a talk called The Oxbow Since Thomas Cole. And Thomas Cole, as probably most people know, has made, well, this particularly well-known painting at the top of the Oxbow from the top of Mount Holyoke, I believe. And it's an author talk. The author's name is Jonathan Moldover. And he's going to talk about the changes to the landscape since Thomas Cole's time to the present. So it sounds like a really cool and interesting program, and I'm sure he's got a
When
lot
is
of
this?
great. This is going to be on Saturday, June 20th.
Okay.
So that's the following Saturday. This is at 1 p.m. The program is free, and we can probably get about 100 people in here, so it would be great to see a lot of folks coming to that presentation. And I think it's going to be really excellent. And then one last thing we're going to do, slightly last minute, but Saturday, June 13th, that is this Saturday, and it's before we open, 8:30 in the morning till about 10:30, a little after we open. We're going to try to do a little garden cleanup. This is, I think, the fifth time that we've done this, since we got into this building about 6 years ago. And what we do is we just kind of do a little refresh of some of the garden areas. We have some wonderful garden volunteers that work throughout the season to keep things neat and tidy, but this is a good way to just really kind of give things a reset. We get some mulch delivered. We're going to spread that around. We'll pull weeds, some of the things, you don't even know what's going on there until you get up close and start pulling things out, particularly with people that know more about it than you do. And so that kind of thing, just neatening and tidying, and it's really great if we can do this with about a half a dozen people. We can get a half a dozen people that I feel good about hefting a shovel, some clippers, shears, trowels, any of those tools that you can bring to help this along, that'd be great. So we have a sign-up sheet for this at the library. You can also just contact the library. You can call the front desk. You can email me at the library, hpl@hadleyma.org. That's an old email address, but it will still get to me. But it's HPL as in Hadley Public Library at hadleyma.org.
So between tractor drop-offs, I'll try to help out.
Awesome, if you can, yeah. But yeah, no pressure, because I know you're pulled in different directions. But if we can get a few people, that would be great. And even if we don't get it all done in one day, we'll just leave the mulch and we'll keep spreading it over a couple of days. But I will be there out in my.
Anyone here want to sign up?
I have a grandson graduating this weekend, so I won't be, and then I gotta go to
High
another
school,
school.
college?
Sorry.
Don't feel pressure.
No,
This
he's
is not a
gonna
pressure
check.
campaign
He
to get
gets out
people
of
to do this.
Okay, school, so.
But yeah, just stop by if you're interested or get in touch. It doesn't really take that many folks to get this done in a quick and orderly fashion. Jack, as you know, because you've done it many times with us. All right, that's all I want to bother you with, and we'll move on to Joanne's bit.
So recently, we got a group together to talk about the future of the library financially and how other libraries handle endowments, and do we want to start an endowment, like all these questions that we as trustees have not really ever delved into before, right? And we were lucky enough to meet with Ruth Francis from the Northampton Library. She was really informative, and I think we made really a nice connection. And we learned a little bit about how their library works and some ideas for us. So the first thing we found out is that Forbes itself is a 501c3. So they are a nonprofit. They have their own treasurer at the library that works there full-time. They have a bookkeeper. Whereas we use the town, we're a town department. And that information, you know, while it's not important to a person taking out a book, it is important as we think about how we manage the money here at the library and how we handle an endowment, right? Because we're not a 501c3. So when we heard her talk about the benefits of 501c3, at first we were like, should we do this? And I think after talking to her for a while, it seemed like it was set up in the 1800s with a bequest from Judge Forbes. It's always been that way for us to convert. Like the longer we talked about it, we're like, we're fine the way we are. There's ways we can still do this, right? So the Forbes streams all of its fundraising efforts, including the Friends. So the Forbes has this way. One of the issues is here we have different arms fundraising. So how do we coordinate that effort, and how do we streamline it, and how do we make sure everyone has autonomy? Well, what they do at the Forbes, this was like the big first question, they actually have 2 subcommittees on the trustees. And one subcommittee is called the Development Committee. And that committee has 2 trustees, the director of the library, like members of the public, development professionals, and a Friends representative. So that's a subcommittee of the trustees. And they meet regularly to talk about all gifts that are coming into the library. So they will sit down as a group and the Friends will say what they've received, the director will say what they received, and they will kind of make as a group decisions about where that money goes, which seemed like a really good idea, like for us too. Like there's a lot of like, well, if the Friends are raising, we don't want to step on toes. Like, how do we streamline the money that comes in? So this is what they do. They have this meeting, and they coordinate on a regular basis. They also have a finance committee. Their finance committee has the library director, the assistant director, the treasurer, the bookkeeper, all the things. It seems like we don't need a finance committee because we have the town as our money managers. But I'm just letting you know how they are set up. And so it seemed like they had a really good methodology of getting gifts in, and then their finance committee deals with investing the money because they have more freedom about how they invest their money. They have a treasurer, and that's when the talk about the community foundation came in, because they can be someone that does all of that work for us.
Sorry, can I ask, does the Forbes have any relationship to the community foundation in their own right, or no?
They don't, because,
They don't need
they don't need it.
Yeah.
And they could maybe have something there she didn't talk about, but she was not familiar with using the community
Yeah.
foundation because she said they had their own 501c3.
Yeah.
They have used a woman named Sarah Tanner, who's a development professional, to help guide their fundraising efforts. And this is someone that they hire to come to meetings and just sometimes and help their development subcommittee.
Is Sarah locally based?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I do have the information for her. And
What title do they give her?
no, she's just like a paid, like they'll pay
Advisor.
her. Yeah.
Consultant advisor, okay.
And the Forbes, and she also talked about actively advocating. It seemed like the Forbes really does a lot of active advocating for libraries and grants. Their trustees do, by meeting with Joe Comerford and just kind of doing a lot more FaceTime than we have ever done. And I'm a trustee for 20 years, I think 20, maybe a little less, but
You said they advocate for libraries, or is it just their library?
Well, I think both, right? Like, so I think they get involved in library issues around the state, but then also as it pertains to them, and they find out about grants. And then she sent me a really interesting email, of course, saying that the director, the library director of and the president of the Friends would be willing to meet with us. The Forbes is really interested in working with us. We also have someone that's interested in being a friend, which I'll pass that along, that works with Ruth at the investment firm, so that would be great. And they have their own investment manager, Bartholomew and Company, but that wouldn't kind of work for us. But Molly said they're the investment manager for the town of Hadley also. So we may want to, at some point, talk to this person anyway, because we have money at the town. So this was the interesting part. As I was preparing, this is what she said, as I was preparing for the annual review of Forbes investment policy statement, I read the investment policy statements Lisa had gathered from other libraries. Both the Lunenburg and Chelmsford libraries are in situations similar to your library. The town finance director or treasurer are involved with the library's investments. Perhaps either of these libraries would be willing to speak with you. So I was going to try to make connection, or maybe Patrick and I, to those two libraries. Super helpful.
Much larger scale, especially a community like Chelmsford.
Right, but they have their situation is similar in terms of how they work with the town.
Lunenburg's actually my hometown, but I don't know anybody at that library. It's been a long time. But it's a small town, just not Chelmsford.
Well, Chelmsford is much bigger
Yeah,
scale.
but Lunenburg is
Yeah.
probably closer to our scale. I can't imagine it's more than 10,000 at most, but
Okay.
I don't know.
So those are some of the things we learned, and we also, well, let me say one more thing first. It sounds like after hearing from all of you today, and hearing from Patrick and looking around the room and thinking that even you were kind of thrown, you've been here a year maybe and thrown in, right? That maybe if we decided that we want to move forward with a development committee, which we've been kind of investigating, that the first job of this committee would be to get all of the it's just fact finding, right? Find all of the funds we have, lay them out in a clear presentation for the trustees so that everybody can understand what our money is, how it's used, and that would give us a basis to start building a development committee and moving forward with the eventual plan not so far away. The idea was we wanted to create an endowment so that, say we got $2 million, which sounds like a lot of money, but we can build to it, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of people who are interested in donating at the library. We need to figure out how to make that happen, that we would then have money on an ongoing basis for the library. That's the eventual goal. But it sounds like the first thing we need to do is kind of get all our finances together, make a presentation for the trustees. Does everyone agree that that's, yeah?
Yeah.
Wayne's like, yes.
Yes,
All right, so that will be the first thing. Julie, who's not here today, has agreed to work on this development project with me. So we have two trustees that are like actively involved. And as we grow or think, we can add others, but at least we have a starting basis. Like Julie and I can kind of start on this together.
Joanne, is there a limit of how many people you could have within our trustees? Is the limit 3?
Yeah, so, thank you.
You mean the committee is limited to 3?
Well,
The
it's-
subcommittee
It's
could
not
be.
limited. The problem is it becomes a quorum and a meeting, a full trustee meeting, if we have more than
I
3
see.
trustees there.
Sure.
So in order for the subcommittee to function as a subcommittee, also, we don't want to just be all trustees. Like, we want to make sure we have folks from the town represented, like the Friends. We need
Maybe
other
some-
people on the
maybe some
development
local
committee.
bankers
Right,
and
we
things like
don't
that.
we don't wanna like just overrun it with trustees. So, we were going to start doing this initial work. And today, Ruth, who's now like my new amazing email buddy, who's teaching me so much.
Ruth is from Keegan and Curran?
Ruth works for Keegan and Curran Financial across the street, but she is a resident of Northampton and a trustee at Northampton. And so walking over here for a meeting was really easy for her, and she's really passionate about libraries, which I love, so she's really helped a lot. And one of the things I'm signing up for, and I sent today to Patrick and Jack, and anyone can sign up for this, and I'll send this to the group, I just got it today, is a webinar called Calculate and Communicate the Return on Investment for a fuller picture of your library. So it's a seminar about kind of really what are people getting when they have a library, and really kind of quantifying that. And that's great for development, right? That's really important work for development. So it's free. I signed up for it. I will send it to everyone. Anyone can go if you're interested. It's in July.
It's a midday event, I think.
It's at 2 p.m.
Yeah, and I signed up for it also. It looks interesting. Thank you for sending that.
Yeah, and so it's great to have library friends now. And I'm like, oh, we're amassing other trustees from other towns, and we'll, I think it will be good for us.
Say again what that meeting is.
Okay, I'm going to read it exactly. In this webinar, Al Hayden, Library Advisory Specialist with the Mass Board of Library Commissioners, will discuss a library's return on investment, how to calculate it, how to communicate it, and how to combine it with other library data to create a richer, fuller picture of the library. You'll come away with an additional tool in your toolkit and resources that can enrich your library's narrative. They even say friends should go. I'll send this to the friends. So we've been busy, I think, gathering good information. Let's see, I'm thinking that we should be able to pull together for next month a picture of all our funds. And that could be a nice baseline for all of us to start thinking about this subcommittee and where we are.
That'll be extremely helpful to
Okay.
have that.
Then that's what we'll
Because
plan to do.
we have a sense that there are funds out there, but really to get a handle on this
Mhm.
is so important.
Okay.
Thank you for all your work.
Oh, sure.
It's important.
Can I just throw something in at the end here? And that is to say that through the process of building the library, we had to develop an active capital campaign and fundraising strategy to raise money. Basically, the money you see in that balance at the Community Foundation to this day through the Hadley Library Fund. And I would say that we learned so much about, Joanne and I did, because we're the two people that were involved in that effort at that time. There were a bunch of other folks that are not in the room here that were also involved, but they're local folks. And I feel like just as an organization, by going through that process, we I feel like already went through a demystification of that process. We learned so much from doing it, and some of what not to do, some of what to do. I think we're kind of well ahead of the game, and I think we're in a good position to go down this road of being kind of clear-eyed and being able to sort of set realistic goals and have a good rationale for why we're doing it, that we'll be able to justify to people why we're doing it, why we need to do these things, and also kind of go into it knowing that it's going to be sometimes challenging, but ultimately rewarding to have all of the different interest groups, let's call it that, the friends group and the trustees, just from these different angles, being more coordinated and more harmonious. It's not that they have not been harmonious, but I think that with everyone communicating more clearly, it can only get that much better, that everybody will be pushing in the same direction and everyone essentially pushing towards a common goal for more prosperous library services, successful library services.
It's a much more symbiotic relationship
Yes.
than it had been.
Yeah.
You know, in coming to the trustees, I always thought that there was like a before and an after. Back in the days of Goodwin, my wife was a trustee at the time. This building is just so very different. I don't know if you've ever been
I
inside.
haven't been inside it, but yeah, it looks a lot different.
It's so very different,
Yeah.
also just about accessibility. The fact that this is much easier if somebody is in a wheelchair or if they have limited mobility to get in
Yeah.
and out of. The scale of this is completely different.
Mm.
And also, in some ways, it was challenging enough to build this during the time of COVID, when this
Yeah.
construction was finished. But at the same time, it was also much cheaper than current cost of construction.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And also, one other significant change here is this community room and some of the other spaces. How
Nothing
often
there.
is this rented out in a year, roughly?
In a year? Well, I can tell you just like for the past month, where is that? It was, and I'm just
So
gently
it's
correct you.
rented out, or?
It is
Well,
not rented out,
Oh.
it is reservable
Oh.
by members of the community. There is a meeting room policy, so the use of the room has to adhere to the policy.
Wow.
But it's generally pretty open for what people want to do. But this past month, we had 118 meeting room appointments. That's not just this room, but that's this room and the 2 reservable rooms, smaller rooms in the
yeah.
other space of the library.
I see people in them all the time, walking
Yeah,
to the
right,
left.
so the use of those rooms has skyrocketed, as I always like to point out. This is a component of our work, our daily work here, that when we were in the old library, because there were no reservable meeting spaces, there were 0 every month, and now we have more than 100 generally. This is typical.
Wow.
So it's just another element of the work that we have to balance and make sure that everybody gets what they need, and
Yeah.
satisfactorily so.
And Joanne, thank you for everything you've been gathering. It's just a wealth of information.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like it's the next step for, like, building this library was the first step. And now
everything
this
else.
is the next step to think about our future, right?
Yeah.
How to care for it.
And bless you, I'm not sure how tuned in you are to town politics, although it seems lately it's been hard to avoid. It's important to provide some of these other resources,
Yeah,
just in case.
okay.
That's it. That's what I have.
All right. The next item on the agenda is discussion chair and other roles. Although we're down 2 trustees tonight, we can at least talk about the chair and what we want to do about that. We're even in a position to vote on it.
I don't think we should without I mean, I feel like Julie and Audrey should be, I mean, I feel that way. Do you feel that way? Yeah.
That's fair. I just wonder if in the summer, are you able to make the next meeting in July? Wayne, to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay. And same thing, Joanne, you'll be around?
I'm always around.
Okay. I'm pretty much always around, except for the end of this month. I'll
Oh, you've been enjoying life, which is nice to hear.
Yes, but I'll be out of town end of the month, but I'll be back in time for the next meeting.
When is the next?
So the next meeting is the second Tuesday of the month.
Oh,
So I want to say that too, is that the trustees have always met the second Tuesday of the month for as long, and I've been a trustee for 20 years. But that doesn't mean that, you know, we always revisit that when we revisit the roles. So we'll always bring that up. As new
Yeah.
people come on, we always say, is this, it's just never changed
Yeah.
in 20 years, but that
All
doesn't
in
mean
all,
it can't.
does the second Tuesday of the month generally work for you?
Yeah,
Okay.
It'll be the 14th.
the
Okay.
14th.
So, I should have actually put this on the agenda. So it's July 14th?
Yes.
It's always at 7 or?
Yeah.
Yes. And we can table voting on the chair.
In the meantime, though, I think what we should vote on or suggest is can you act as chair in place?
Well, so the last time we set up roles, I was voted in as the vice chair.
Oh.
So it just makes sense because our previous chair has left,
Okay.
although she's still in the building quite often.
And I will, if the group is okay, I'll take minutes again.
I
next
would
month.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your chair, too.
So, did we have other roles? Well, I guess we had the vice chair, as just in case,
And
but
throughout the history of the
Chair of
library,
Vice. I've
throughout
always
the-
wanted that position.
you can.
you can have
You
it.
Don't say that out loud.
Yeah.
So it's the chair of vice that I want, not the vice chair.
Well, we'll rename it for you.
I dare you.
And there have been times in the library where we've had that role, and there have been times we haven't. We've had co-chairs. We've had lots of different models. So, so we should be open to that too, if it need be.
Yeah, and this may be more appropriate for our meeting on July 14th, but the select board will be setting up liaisons and figuring out who that is. So one member of the select board works with the trustees. It would be great
Oh.
to get them here for
And
some meetings.
we've had varying success with that over the years, but it's nice when we connect.
Yeah.
We at least send a letter, we introduce ourselves, we invite them.
I don't think during my time there has been a select board person here.
Yeah,
It's been-
and in the past, when I was chair, I often would call the person or send them minutes regularly just to keep them updated. Some were interested, some weren't, but I knew I did what I should.
Yeah. It's also worth noting that we have a new town administrator who actually tomorrow morning, we're having our first department head meeting in this room at 9 a.m. So let's wrap it up. Just kidding. But it's a little early. Normally they're later in the day, so I'll be here early. But yeah, we have a new town administrator, which is very exciting. I have met Nate, but I have not had a chance to really sit down and talk about the issues facing the library, and I haven't really had a chance. He's been in the building, but I haven't had a chance to walk him around and
Yeah.
show it off yet. But I'm
And
hoping to do that.
it's
soon.
Nate Malloy.
Yes.
Nate, N-A-T?
Yes, Nathaniel. Seems to go by name.
And Malloy, M-A-L-L-O-Y. And you may or may not know that our interim administrator was Mike Mason, who's also the police chief.
Okay.
He did a great job.
He did,
Yeah.
but I think he's happy to have one job now.
I'll
Yeah.
bet he is.
He passed me in the driveway. He gave me a shout and a wave. He looked very happy to be back in uniform.
Announcements. I'm wondering, do we have any announcements?
No.
All right. Any other business or comments? All right. At 7:50, someone here has to make a motion for adjournment of this meeting.
I do want to say that I'm very glad for this information to be forthcoming about the various committees that fund us and how that works. And I look forward to learning more about it, because I felt I really didn't know enough to take my position seriously.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say related to all of this is Mass Board of Library Commissioners, they're kind of the overseers of all of this. And I know South Hadley get a little bit jammed up, although they seem to have worked their way out of it, where it's really important for our town library to be accredited. That's how we can share these resources through CW Mars and such. Yeah, so just be aware that they're kind of looking over our shoulder and lending a hand.
Yeah.
Is there
In a good way.
reaccreditation process? Do they regularly do an accreditation
So
study?
every year, well, this is part of the process of the reporting that we provide to them every summer. After the end of the close of the fiscal year, we do a statistical report that talks about the activity at the library for the preceding year, and then we present a financial report that basically just kind of goes through a lot of what we've been talking about, the operational budget, other sources of income, what we spent the money on, that sort of thing. And then in presenting that, and again, the Board of Library Commissioners has a set of formulas that we use to determine what amount of money that we need to have for the upcoming year, because that formula is trying to keep things, essentially keeping up with inflation, so that we're not, constantly just getting smaller and smaller and whittled away. So that formula tries to keep us up with the times, and by doing that, we get certification, which allows us. That certification is what Jack is referring to. It allows you as a Hadley resident to go to Northampton to use their library services and vice versa, and it also qualifies us for state grants. The construction grant that we received is directly attributable to the fact that we are certified, and it also makes us qualified to receive an annual set of grants called LIGMEG, Library Incentive Grant, and Municipal Equalization Grant, which, again, that's based on a formula, based on level of activity, the amount of hours, things like that. That's just that's what we call state aid. It's state aid for libraries, and that money goes into an account. It's able to be used for anything. We typically use it as a rainy day fund. Lately, as things have been tighter and tighter financially, we've dipped into that for things like substitute staff. One of our part-time staff is paid from that because we haven't been able to expand staffing hours for several years. So we dipped into LIGMEG to pay for one of our part-time desk staff. So that's essentially what happens there. But yes, there's a set of carrots and sticks that are in place to sort of keep us on track and on par with the wider community of libraries throughout the state, large and small.
How many libraries are there in the state?
Probably
Yeah,
351 or something for every community.
Yeah,
How
if you're talking about
How did you
public,
know that number?
No, I don't know. That's how many cities and towns there are in
No,
Massachusetts.
but that amazes me that you know
Yeah.
that.
someone asked that question at the finance committee meeting, and when we had our budget hearing, someone asked that question, and I just said, basically, I couldn't answer the question.
I didn't know if he made
Yes.
that up. I was like,
No,
he
no,
knows there's
that's-
350.
If you look it up online, okay, I think
That's
you'll
it.
see that that's what we have.
It's a
I
huge
believe
job
you.
for this committee to oversee that many public libraries.
The board, the
The
board of
board.
library commissioners is a pretty big organization. They have a Boston,
They would meet.
it'd be Boston office.
And they are tuned in. When I went to the Shutesbury opening of their new library, they knew all the details about Hadley. I was amazed at some of the members of the board just knowing everything,
Wow.
including you. Yeah, no, they said good things. Yes, yes, but they were really tuned in to this.
That's
They
very
knows my
good to
name.
know.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Really good to know.
yeah.
So the state takes libraries seriously.
And that's one reason that we're ranked #1, I think, in education again this year, but whatever. So, yes.
That I truly say.
Oh, was I saying something? I thought I was
Maybe you
something.
were done?
I think I was done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So is it time for someone to offer,
I will make a motion that we adjourn.
is there a second?
I'll second.
And this meeting is done at 7:58.